Riley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for October 2021. On Wednesday, October 6th, we have our new moon taking place in Libra, 13 degrees and at 7:05 a.m. Eastern Time. If you haven't already downloaded your moon guide, I'm going to recommend that you go do that. This is a perfect opportunity to get aligned, get in balance with the energies of the cosmos. We have a lot going on. We entered into Libra season with the equinox. This is essentially a brand new cycle, and this is the very first new moon that we have in this cycle to kind of get our intentions, get our mind, get our heart right. So let's talk about this Libran energy first and foremost. Libra is an air sign. It rules over our intellect, our ideas, our thoughts. It rules over how it is that we communicate. And because Libra is very focused on learning about oneself through the relationships that we have, this is very focused on how it is that we share ourselves with the world, with the people that we find to be of worth and of value. Now, Libra season is all about balancing the scales. We've been living in some pretty extremes, and especially where our heart and our head is concerned, we definitely have a little bit of work to do to get back on centered and stable ground. This is a pretty big new moon event, seeing as we have not only the sun and the moon aligned, which of course gives us our new moon, but we have Mars, the god of war, really ruling over our physical energy, our action, our drive, our purpose, our passion, our desire, and even our anger. Also at this 13 degree. This little tag team that we got going on here is making a very interesting aspect with Uranus, the Great Awakener. And I'll tell you, Libran energy typically is very indecisive, very on the fence, very much wants to sort through the pros and cons, to do what is right, to do what is fair, to see the medium ground. But one of the problems with Libran energy is that we think ourselves into a state of paralysis. Now, Mars being a key factor here, he just wants to take action. He wants to make a move. And he's kind of unleashing this inner warrior in order for us to make a move and think about the consequences later. Now, that might sound a little bit risky, but it's better than standing still and thinking things right to death. We have to understand that the moon and the sun and Mars are all sitting across from Chiron, who is retrograde in Aries. This is the wounded healer. And we have a lot of wounds coming up, very extreme wounds coming up, especially where we've given our power away to other people. Libran energy is a people pleaser. We tend to sacrifice our own wants, needs, and desires for the greater, grander collective, for the relationship, for other people. We put other people's wants, needs, and desires before our own. And of course, this Aryan energy that sits across from Libra is all about the individual. What do I want? What do I need? What do I desire? What am I passionate about? What's good for me? So we, on the greater, grander scale right now, are at a very interesting crossroads with the spiritual war, with the Great Awakening. There are some narratives, and of course it is important to factor in thy neighbor into the collective, into what's best for humanity, but not when it means giving up our own individual rights, freedoms, wants, needs, and desires in life. Libra season is all about balance, and things have gotten very unbalanced in order for us to realize where balance is actually needed. So we have some very powerful aspects taking place within this new moon energy. Mars, of course, being a key factor. Uranus, the Great Awakener, really shaking up our relationship, shaking up our resources, our plans for the future, our self-worth. What do we value? Do we value other people's opinions over our own? Do we value other people's happiness over our own? These are some very deep-seated shadow questions that we have to be asking ourselves. And again, the new moon guide will help you do just that. Dive into the shadow work that is needed in order to illuminate the shadow to the light. So the new moon, of course, wants us to initiate brand new seeds of intention. But this particular new moon has a little bit more of a full moon vibe to it. Why? Because there's a lot of releasing that is needed before we can go ahead and actually manifest. We're releasing the parts of us that have been unbalanced, that have been living in extreme. We have to let go of some relationships that are never going to be balanced in the energy exchange. We're going to have to release some ideas about ourselves, our self-worth, what it is we deserve. We're going to have to release some emotions that we keep trapped inside of ourselves because we're afraid of what other people might actually think of us if we stood our ground and spoke our truth and advocated for ourselves. We do have a lot of weight to drop, mind, body, and soul, before the scales will actually come into balance. We have to be focused on fairness, doing what is right, standing up for ourselves, standing up for justice. Now, that might lead us to a situation where we have to cooperate, where we have to compromise. That's okay. Libran energy is the negotiator of the zodiac. We're able to do this in the right way to make sure that all parties are walking away happy. So another very interesting fact here, Pluto, who is retrograde in Capricorn and has been for the last 4 to 5 months, he's been really taking us on a very dark journey within ourselves, recognizing our fears, our insecurities, our doubts, showing us our pain, showing us our trauma, recognizing where it is that we've given our power away, especially to authority figures in the past. And now Pluto is about to go direct, just hours after the new moon in Libra actually peaks. This screams transformation. Pluto is the great transformer of the zodiac by sitting in the darkness, recognizing one's pain, and turning that pain into power by illuminating it, showing that darkness a little bit of light, a little bit of love. With Mars in the mix, really backing us passionately, aggressively to make a change, to take an action, you best believe that this is going to wake us up and shake us up in a way that we have needed for a very long time. Uranian energy in the mix as well, the great awakener himself, shocking us, throwing us a curveball, showing us where it is we need to rebel, where it is that we need to fight for freedom, where it is that we need to think about our individual wants, needs, and desires. This is a time for us to make peace, people, but the peace has to happen within ourselves. This is a time to create harmony, but that can only happen when the mind and the heart are on the same page before we go ahead and take an action to prove where it is that we're actually acting from. This is going to put what has been very chaotic into order. This is going to get our heart and our head on the same page, likely by putting one to a breaking point. Again, we have to live in extremes before we can figure out how to actually balance things out. Of course, we're going to recognize the value, the worth, not only within ourselves, but in the relationships that we're choosing to share ourselves, our energy with. This is really going to require us to do a little bit of a tango, a little bit of a cha-cha-cha, if you will. The balancing act between our needs and what others need is going to be very, very powerful. This is about teamwork. This is about recognizing you as the individual, what it is that you bring to the table, your talents, your skills, your abilities, and recognizing what the other person can bring to the table, and recognizing that we live in a dualistic polarity world where bringing forth the good, bad, and the ugly, we can make peace with it. We can find harmony. We can find a lot of beautiful things in this gray area instead of living in black or living in white. Now, we can't even talk about the fact that this new moon has all of these very, very powerful aspects, really leading us into a great change, without talking about the fact that Mercury is also in Libra, creating this stellium. The sun, the moon, Mars, and Mercury all in Libran energy. This is a powerhouse energy to make a change, to make a shift in our minds, in our thinking, in the way that we are speaking truth. Mercury, of course, is retrograde. Before we can move forward, we got to look back. How the hell did we get here? Why is it that we're still standing here? Are we going to continue to keep our mouths shut? Are we going to continue to put other people's wants, needs, and desires before our own? Do we have a truth to tell? Do we have a story to tell? Are we living in a state of what is fair to us? These are all very powerful questions that you have to answer within yourself. We have an elemental energy profile here, very weighted in air. 7 elements in air. This is a total paradigm shift in our mental planes. But we have to open up the conversation. We have to open up the dialogue. And then we have to open up our mouths and speak what our opened heart is telling us to speak. There's a gentle balance between heart and head here. There's a gentle balance between reality of what is and the reality of what could be. We are in the middle of a spiritual war, a spiritual awakening. Every move, every action that we take right now is setting us up and setting up the future of humanity on a course that we get to determine right now, in the here and now. So take a stand for what is right for you in your individual life. And take a stand to join others on the greater, grander stage where the collective of humanity is concerned, and do what is right for your future children's children. The time is now, and we have a lot of work to do. But I'm pretty sure with the energy backing us of love, of peace, of harmony, as long as we open our hearts and open our minds, we're going to come to a very positive resolution in the middle, in the grounded point, in the centered point of speaking our truths and listening to others.